We're back today. Thanks for tuning in. We're going to try something a little bit different today. I'm not going to be John, but I talked about Bernie Wrightson and Sergio Toppi, and so we're going to review a little bit of what they have, and a little bit of my influences on that. So the first book I have here is Bernie Wrightson's Frankenstein, and I've had this book for years, so I don't even know if you can still get this anymore. I'm sure you can. I mean, it's a super popular book, and I'm just trying to figure out. Okay. What I like here, because everything is done with, it looks like a quill pen. I don't know if you can see that. How well can you see that? Everything is done with the quill pen, and everything that goes in the one direction. And then his use of highlights. How he... The strokes, they don't continue all the way through. So as you can see, these quill marks, they go through, but they stop, and it creates this highlight. And then his use of negative space. There's nothing on these sails, and these rocks here. So all these strokes are going this way for the rocks, and then all these strokes are going diagonal for the sky, and then he stops and he has these highlighted areas. Then there's the pure white space, and then the sea, where it kind of curves. It does look like he goes this way because these are heavier marks at the top of the crest of the waves, and then he kind of slopes in. So there's sea here, there's rocks, there's fabric, there's sky. I just think that it's very well done. It's time consuming. It's very time consuming, but it's kind of simple in how he does it. Let's see here. What I like about this page here is, again, it's the different textures. So there's fabric, which he uses the cross-hatching, the down, and then so there's the pure blacks, and then there's the cross-hatching, and then through the window, you can see the window seal is straight lines, and then these, can you see these very well? The rain, he just leaves them open. So there's the negative space that he creates on the rain, and in the background you can see the house in the background, and then the negative space used for the rain. And so the reflections, the highlights, you can really see this pretty well on the knee here. It's the negative space that he uses, and then here's more the cross hatching for the fabric, and then some of the deep lines for some of the linen. But I am impressed that you have the fabric, you have the leather, you have the nylon, you have the wool, you have the books, you have the glass, and then this, I don't know if you can really tell, but the shadows on the wall, it's the same technique, it's just lighter. So I'm really impressed by his use of white space. Here again, that's completely blacked out on the top, straight lines coming down, or straight lines following, and then so even though you have the straight lines coming down across the board, the lines go the other way to kind of separate the top from the bottom. and then on the bottom again they go down, and they are heavier in the recesses. So you can see there's faces along the bottoms here. They look like they're carved in. And then his use of black space, because this is all blacked out. There's no, and then these blades are pure white. So Bernie Wrightson, and you could just tell. That there's a lot of work done. This is a good picture because there's a lot going on here. You got the wood, you got the glass, you got the flame, you got the reflections, you got skin, you have glass, you have his clothing. There's more glass on the bottom, and this is what I don't know. This is what I don't understand. Is it's basically the same line. So you have the cork on top, you have the negative space here, and you have basically the straight lines that come through. But it's also the same lines that he uses on this box here. It's a little skeleton in the center here. And these straight lines that go through, and you could... I don't know how he separates this glass from this box here, separating it from the paper. You can see this on this desk. There's highlights coming in through the window. And so on the desk here, again, it is just straight lines. And what's interesting is that there are no thick lines. As far as like heavy lines that separate one subject from another. These are all pretty much the same density in the lines, but this is a fantastic picture because there's so much going on here, and he does all of this with it's a quill pen, and these are straight lines. This is basically straight lines. There's a little bit of cross hatching in the shadows here on these boards that are coming down. There's not a ton of cross-hatching. This is basically just playing with the density and thickness of a single line, which is it's amazing to me how Bernie can get. So here's another one. It's amazing to me how Bernie can get so much, because you know immediately what this is. This is the lights that's coming through. And it's obviously a lighter hatching, so that there's still liveliness even in these toes. These toes, the way that they sit and the way that they move, there's liveliness to this. And a lot of these are just done with straight lines, and it's just the heaviness of it that these lines are lighter. They're more gray, and while these go diagonal, these lines here on this statue, they do go different directions, but it's all singular. There's some cross hatching back here, but for the most part, it is just line weight, which it's just amazing to me. It's absolutely amazing to me. Let's go here. This is more of his comic book styling, because you do see a lot of just straight blacks. He just blacked all this out. But again, these are all just straight lines. Some of these are heavier than others. You can tell that There's a little bit of I think he's going this way because these are heavier lines here, and they're ending up lighter. So there's some lines that go all the way through, and then there's some lines that they're thicker and they kind of peter out. And then these lines are going at a diagonal, and then this. But what I liked about here was that this is just pure blacked out, and then some of these white streaks that come in. There's a number of different ways that you can do this. You can get a razor, you can get white out or white ink, or what have you. Again, it's just the use of the blacks. Just blacking all this out. It says Wrightson 77. So if this was 1977, jeez. Talk about being ahead of your time. And then here's another one. Just because, how do you know this is rain? How do you know this is rain? And for the most part, it is all like, you know, it's all straight lines. It's all just straight lines going down. But there is weight. These are much thicker line weights, and these are much thinner line weights. And how he's able to just have that kind of control over the dip pen as such. And here's the tree. And you can just tell it's just thicker. These are just thicker. These shades here. I don't even know which direction he's going on these. The character is still alive. I mean, you can easily see that it's not a stiff. The whole world is vibrant. The water that's down here, the river. You could certainly tell. You know what is rock. What is foliage, what is human, and it's all. None of this is cross-hatching. None of this is the weight that separates. Like I think that if I did something like this, I would have a heavy line here separating this guy from Frankenstein. Even this girl up here, I'd have a heavier line separating her. But again, this is wood. Let's see if you can tell here. That's wood on the back, and then obviously the dress that she's wearing, her hair. It's very simple. You can see the shingles on the boards. You can see these other people back here, and there's very little cross-hatching. These are all straight lines. These are all straight lines. There's cross-hatching here, but what separates this is simply pen weight, ink weight. It's just fascinating to me. I can't do it. I mean, this is beyond anything that I can do. Here's Frankenstein in the Chateaus. And again, it's his use. So there's the use of black space here, where there's no detail in this. This is all the same that goes out. But you know exactly what Frankenstein is doing. The knee, the head, the character is still very much alive. But if you look at the stone here, it's all single. It's all singular. There's a few marks here that go diagonal, but for the most part, they're following the shape of the stone. For the most part, all of this is. Even this river is a great example. I don't know if you can see that. It's just straight line work. It's just straight lines, and it either goes a different direction or it's a heavier weight. I didn't mean to turn to this page, but again, his use of negative space here. When everything So this is these woods that are in the forefront are completely blacked out, and then there's cross hatching on the back wall here. These are all singular lines, and then this is all singular lines. There is some cross hatching on this wall, but this negative space that comes across his face, there's no marks on his face whatsoever. But this is all done with pure line weights. And let's see. I do want to get to. So this is Bernie Wrightson's Frankenstein. There's a lot of other. This is interesting because it's all. There's nothing here. There's nothing here, and yet you know exactly what's going on, because at the top of this, the billows of smoke that he turns out. So there doesn't need to be much. Like I would definitely have flames that are going over here, but there's not. There's nothing here. It's completely. It's completely white space, and then that allows him to darken this out. But this cloth is crosshatched. But what sets this whole thing apart is at the end of these billows, you can see that there's some lines that follow the clouds, and then there's some lighter lines on the outside, but these clouds still cast shadow. It's a fantastic piece. It's a fantastic piece. And this is the last Bernie Wrightson page, and I think you can find this one online because there's so much into it. Again, there is cross-hatching up here. There's cross-hatching on the fabric. But you can see the singular lines that come through on the wood, the singular lines that come through on the books. But then down here you have these. That would be a lamp, I suppose. And then, but the people are still very alive. See the skulls in the background; they're very alive. And you could the leather that he's sitting on. It's just fascinating how he can do so much, and you can just tell a full page like this, and that he's doing with essentially single strokes. The book strokes are going horizontal, the wood strokes are going vertical elks, but these wooden slates here are going horizontal, and then the book strokes are also going horizontal. I can't do that. That is beyond anything that I can do. But it is fascinating to me that Bernie is able to so much texture, so much differentiation in the textures, and minimal use of lines of negative space. There's some pure whites here. There's enough to break up the piece, but mostly it's line weight. Heavy line weights denote certain textures, lighter, thinner line weights denote other textures, and to kind of change it up, he will change the direction. But this is Bernie Wrightson's Frankenstein. Like I said, he had a run on Swamp Thing and Batman and whatnot, but that's Bernie Wrightson's Frankenstein, and that's a very popular book, and there's a ton of techniques in there that I cannot replicate. He's absolutely amazing. And then this one here is Sergio Toppi. This one here is Arabian Nights, but I mean Sergio Toppi, I believe he's a French guy. I don't know. I believe he's passed away. But you could just tell that there's so much use of negative space here. he's got much heavier lines than Bernie Wrightson. But his characters are very much alive. Very much alive. There's a lot of... You'll see a lot of this. These designs, these intricate designs here. But these characters are very much alive. They're not flat. And really... you could do it. You could just on every single page. You could do something. I was introduced to Sergio Toppi by Richard Friend, who runs. He does inking, and he has a YouTube channel. Highly recommend it. Richard Friend. He's the one who introduced me to Toppi. I have a couple of books on Toppi. Like I said, the choice to use negative space here, and then continue, so you can see what the intended helmet on this guy looks like. So there's much heavier lines covering up more of his face, and a lot of these indentations and bulges on the helmet, and you can see it comes through. And then there's this use of negative space here, and the negative space, it still comes through on where the helmet would be. So he's definitely more artistic. He's not going for realism, as you can tell. The choice here, and then his sword, you can see the reflection of this young lady on the sword that comes through, and how that carries into the next panel. So the reflection on the sword is simply lighter, thinner quill strokes. But it's very fascinating. He uses negative space a lot. This, you could tell, this guy here, this is just straight artistic choice here, because he chooses to just not put any detail in this chest or abdomen area. But you know that Sergio Toppi can draw these figures if he wanted to. Here's an animal. Again, for a guy who's extremely artistic and utilizes the negative space to such a high degree, the fact that you can differentiate the antelope from, I guess it's a mouse. That's a big mouse. Might be a rat. Got a long tail. Might be a chinchilla. Here's a hawk or a falcon. But for a guy that utilizes, here he goes again. I'll try to get the glare away. Here goes again. This negative space here that he doesn't really utilize. But if he wanted to, his talent to draw these animals, these figures, it's there. It is his decision. He's not covering up for a lack of ability. It's an artistic decision in which he utilizes the white space and the black space. I like this panel here because it's basically the same. There you go. It's basically the same picture, the same, but it gets darker and darker until it's just blacked out. I don't know, for whatever reason, I like it. There's more negative space by Toppi. And like I said, it's almost every page. What I like here, so we saw how intricate he was on the helmet. This person here, their club, as the club goes up, it's just pure white, and it breaks up the panels, and it's just pure white, but he carries that over into the next page, and you can just tell all the intricacies of what he can do. But he carries over the white club, just carries it over, just drops down into the next, I would say frame. I don't know, but that's another thing that's very interesting, is that what makes this frame is this character. And there really isn't a frame around this guy here. There's a frame for these people, but it's based around, he's using the character to frame this guy. Like I said, he's Toppi, Sergio Toppi, very much an artist. Very much an artist. Some of the things that he decides to do. This was fascinating to me. You can see there's much heavier lines than what Bernie Wrightson uses. Much heavier lines, but it goes to a black, and then this fog or this mist gives way to the sea, and the sea is pretty white. There's a lot of white, negative white space, and it is the silhouette of the ship. How that picture, how it morphs, how it transitions into that, so that's very much. And then this guy on the end. But you can see, Toppi can draw the hair, he can draw the shape, the figure, and even just a guy standing here, there's life to him, there's movement to him, it's not flat. He's very much an artist, very much an artist. Very different than Bernie Wrightson. I think I used this page here because there's not a lot of there's not a lot of artistic license taken here, but you can just see it just shows that if you wanted to, Sergio Toppi could absolutely draw these figures. It is an artistic choice to do this. Here's another one. So you have these three guys up top. There's a lot more cross-hatching that's done, but you can tell the hair looks like hair, the brows, the lines across the face here, heavier lines differentiate. There's a thicker line here, and this guy, there's enough straight lines on the face to denote the shape of the face, the expression of the face, and there's thicker lines in the hair, and then there's variations when it comes to the dress, the cloaks. But you can see how he breaks this up is how he separates these three guys is this guy's hat, which he utilizes the negative space to it's just white, there's nothing here, and it just utilizes, and you can see very clearly there's a line separates these guys. There's no line here, this guy is not separated from him. This line here, and the fact that this doesn't quite shape up, it continues. It's just a fascinating to see him work, how he breaks up a page. It's great. It's fantastic. Like I said, every single page there's something, but you can tell just a little bit of straight lines can really bring out the definitions in the face. There's a little bit of cross-hatching. There is heavier lines than Bernie Wrightson. Yeah, it's fantastic. It is fantastic. Just a couple more. And this one, this face here, Because like I said, there's a little bit, you can see it's alive, right? It's not flat. It is not a flat drawing. It's very much, but it looks real. It looks flesh. The way the lips protrude, the size of the nose, and how it kind of curves in, and then the texture in the hair. You can see that the texture in the hair is different, and how it curls, and how his line strokes curl with the curls in the hair. And it is just fascinating. Here's a heavier line, so you can see the jowls a little bit more. The heavier line, the cross-hatching underneath on the neck and under the chin. And then I will leave you with the Rhino. Again, you can heavier, thicker lines when he needs it. So on this guy's headpiece, I don't know if I would call that a hat necessarily. There's the negative space that he uses, and then there's the Rhino. Can I get a good shot of the Rhino? There's the Rhino. I suppose that's scale. That's to scale, but yeah, you can see underneath. There's a lot of cross-hatching underneath. These almost look like decorative designs. So like up close, if you look at this leg up close, you can see the little dots where the nails are. You can see that there's some lines going this way, there's some lines going up and down, there's some lines going horizontal, there's some lines going, and it's almost boxed up. It's not like he's following the shape of the Rhino. These are almost boxed up. But when you look at it from a distance, oh, there's no doubt. There's no doubt. So there's the Rhino face and the Rhino helmet. And even, on the helmet itself, you can see there's up and down lines. These are thicker lines. These are almost blacked out. These are diagonal lines. These are diagonal lines going the other way. These are horizontal lines. But when you back it out, yeah, there's no doubt. There's no doubt what this is. And the use of black space. I know there's some white streaks in here. The use of black space juxtaposed with the use of white space. There's nothing on the ground here. Fantastic. Sergio Toppi. What is his name? Sergio Toppi. Like I said, he's passed away, so his books are not as easy to get. But I highly recommend, if you're interested in these kinds of things, to do yourself a favor and hunt down, look online for some Toppi books and see what catches your fancy. This is Arabian Nights. This was Bernie Wrightson's Frankenstein. I highly recommend both of them. Thank you all for tuning in, and alright then, bye.